Well, you know, I appreciate your point of view, especially about New York. You are the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. You hear a lot of things that the rest of us don't know. But let me play for you a little bit more of what Mike Bloomberg had to say, because he initially, and Ray Kelly, the police chief in New York, were in favor of holding the trial there. They said, you know, if anyone can do it, we can do it. We've done it before. That said, they did it with a blind shake. This is what Mayor Bloomberg had to say only yesterday.
The federal government could find a site that didn't cost $1 billion, which using downtown will, and it will also impact traffic and commerce and people's lifestyles downtown, and it would be great if we didn't do it.
He's clearly changed position on that, and New York leaders are now against it. Your own colleague, whom we're going to be interviewing later in the hour, Gillibrand, clearly against it. Do you have any second thoughts about it?
Well, yes, I do. I think the mayor has spoken. I think he has a good point. I think the administration should listen to that point. KSM does not have to be tried in New York City. And if there is any evidence that this is going to either make New York City a target or present unusual expenses, and the mayor, and I've been a mayor, should be listened to. And what he has said is, yes, it will. And what we're asking, Mr. President, for you to take this trial somewhere else. And there are other places to try it in the United States, which are more remote, which are much less a target, and would be much less, I think, a spawning ground for very unfortunate propaganda all over the world.
Well, in fact, let me follow up on that, because you know, as someone who follows intelligence more closely than anyone in Congress, you know that New York is the #1 symbolic target of value, long-range value, for decades now to al-Qaeda, at least since the 1993 attack on the first attack on the World Trade Center.
Yes.
So that let's just stipulate that New York is always, whether or not there are immediate threats, always has a lot of background noise. Where else in the United States could this trial be held, or should they revert to military commissions and not hold a civilian trial?
Well, I'm not going to go into it at this point. I think the dynamic has changed now, and I think that the administration ought to listen to the mayor, listen to the mayor's concern, and candidly make a change. There is nothing wrong with making a change. The administration has flexibility. It can try somebody in Article 3 court, decide to do it, change its mind, put that individual into a military commission. So the administration has total control of this. And I think the situation has changed. In my view, from an intelligence perspective, the situation has changed with the Christmas attack. And I'm not going to go into more about that here, but I do think the situation has changed, and the administration should take good note of that and make a change as well.
You're sending a very important signal. I should point out that just within the hour, a transcript is coming out shortly from a briefing by Deputy Press Secretary William Burton on Air Force One, saying that as of now, at least, the president is not considering any change at all, despite these objections. The White House, despite the criticism from Mayor Bloomberg and others, is not going to change its plan to try to have that trial in New York City. Let me ask you also about something that Dianne Feinstein said earlier on this program. She said that she's now of the mind that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed should not be tried in New York. Mayor Bloomberg has clearly changed his mind on that threat. You've been outspoken on it. What is the threat to New York City?
Well, the concern is that if you do have the terror trials in New York City, that it will be an overwhelmingly financial burden to the city. So one of the things I've been advocating for is that if they are located in New York City, we have to be compensated. We need to make sure that the cost for the massive security operation that will be required will be paid for by the federal government. I'm also worried about the communities and the small businesses that will be affected in that area, because when you have a security lockdown, it's going to be very difficult for business people to be able to keep their businesses open and families to get to where they need. So that's the biggest concern, that if it is going to be in New York, it needs to be compensated. But, you know, I'm open for the trial to be moved to another appropriate place.